Welcome to Something to Say, where we bring voices from diverse backgrounds who will share their unique stories and perspectives on finding their passion and provide insights on how you can find yours. Join us as host Greg DeShields guides us through this enlightening journey.
Welcome to episode 2 of Something to Say, a unique platform that amplifies the voices of individuals from diverse backgrounds sharing their passion. I'm your host, Greg DeShields, and I'm excited to bring you another episode of Something to Say. But first, there are a few updates since our launch on April 5th. We are now featured on the Alive Podcast Network. The Alive Podcast Network is home to hundreds of Black podcast episodes where community, culture, and creative live. They also create and share. Also, Mohammed Adnan has joined Something to Say, operating the show's post-production work. Thank you so much, Mohammed. And a big thank you to Lorraine Ballard for producing our intro and outro. So let's jump into it. Today, we welcome Karin, who is president and CEO of the new Green Book Experience. Inspired by the historic Negro Motorist Green Book, the Green Book Experience is a comprehensive online destination travel guide tailored for the ultimate cultural travel enthusiast. The site will provide users with group and leisure travel information about Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities, highlighting their historical and cultural sites, venues, and experiences. As the president and CEO of the Green Book Experience, Karin brings over 3 decades of expertise in the hospitality and tourism industry. Additionally, holding positions at Continental and United Airlines and hotel management roles at Hilton Hotels and Resorts, Hyatt Regency, and the Ritz-Carlton Hotel brand. Before her current position, Karin held significant roles in destination marketing at Visit Loudoun in Virginia, Visit Monterey in Maryland, and as former president and CEO of the Greater Newark Convention and Visitors Bureau. In her current capacity, she leads the strategic direction of the Green Book Experience, overseeing all aspects of operations, financial performance, and branding efforts. Karin's reputation as a thought leader is underscored by her certifications as a certified tourism ambassador and sport tourism strategist. She is a Bloomfield College alumna, obtained an executive and education certificate in hospitality tourism from Florida Atlantic University, and holds a certificate in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Furthermore, has presented at several speaking engagements specific to advocacy, hospitality and tourism, and diversity. At KKD Tourism Advisors, a Philadelphia firm where Karin, as managing partner, continues to provide expertise and innovation to the industry, all while promoting inclusivity, diversity within the tourism sector. Most importantly, she lives in Northern Virginia with her husband, Rodney, and her 3 adult sons, and a Yorkie poo named Raven. So I have to talk to you more about that. So let me just start by saying, Karin, I am so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Greg, for having me. And one clarification, those 3 adult sons have moved out. They are gone. Please, they're gone. Thank you.
So we have planned for your appearance for quite some time, and I'm thrilled that you have joined us. And we are actually, for the first time, doing both audio and video. So for those of you in the audience who are only listening to this by audio, we're probably going to sound great. But those who are watching us on video, you can see we're both really nervous about what our camera appearance is.
Yes.
So Karin, thank you so much for being able to join us for both audio and video.
Absolutely, no problem.
So you are an interesting person, and we love you for you to tell us more about you. And because of that, we've come up with 3 icebreakers. And
Okay.
I feel that these icebreakers are so incredibly important because they're the kind of get to know you questions that we can really share
Yeah.
with our audience. So
Yeah.
I hope you have your seatbelt on. 3 questions coming your way.
Okay, I'm ready. Go for it.
right, so they're really kind of easy, but let's start. So the first one is if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would that be and why?
There's a lot of folks out there, but if I had to have dinner with one person, it would be Nelson Mandela.
Really?
So I am always impressed and just enamored by people who go against the grain for equal rights, civil rights, and what he did back in 1994 and years before to go ahead and set the tone that African Americans, Africans, people from South Africa that matter, and the way he positioned himself and his movement to end apartheid in South Africa is just amazing. It takes a certain type of resilience and that type of person and character to do that. So I would love to sit down with him and just ask him, what was the one thing? What made you decide to get up and say, I'm going to fight this regime? I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to spend 27 years in prison to make a point that this is what needed to be done. And I'm the person to do it through. So it definitely would be Mandela.
Wow.
Hands down.
Wow. Well, because we're both in the hospitality sector, what immediately comes to mind with you having dinner with that really prestigious individual is what would you have for dinner and what would you drink?
Yeah. So I'm so Americanized. So he would have to help me out with, it depends on what we're having dinner. If we're having dinner in South Africa, if we're having dinner here. But at the end of the day, give me a martini any day, and I think everything will be okay.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I do want to get a little bit more serious to learn a little bit more
Okay.
about you. So our second question is how do you manage challenges or setbacks?
So I'm a little strange. I'm a Virgo, so let me just say this. So I'm a little strange. For me, I always have to understand how I got there in order for me to find a solution. So my brain will go back and say, okay, what is the problem? What is the outcome? And what is the solution? So for me, I always go back and I say, Karen, how did you get here? Is this something that you can control? Is this something that you can formulate a solution for? And for me, I have to go inside of what the problem is. And I do that in my personal life and also in my professional life because I don't like being in a situation that I don't know how I got there and I don't know how to fix or correct later. So for me, it's always taking a deep dive and saying, okay, what's the next step and how to prevent this from happening again. So I internalize things almost to a fault, but it's good because it gives me a life lesson on how to handle major things, personal or professional. And then also allows me to say, okay, I know what to do next time or what not to do next time. So for me, it's always about just answering my own question. How did I get here and how do I fix it? So that's
You
my
know, Karen, that is such an incredible response because you seem to have a natural instinct about control and the idea of saying, how did I get here? As opposed to looking at the challenge, it's like, how did I get here? Because you immediately allow yourself to take control of the situation through an analysis of how I got here, not what happened to me, but how did I get here? So I really want to acknowledge you for giving a great response there. And it is a really unique perspective, which I knew would be the kind of point of view we get for you. But let's make it a little bit lighter. So, your
okay.
third and final icebreaker question is if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
So I'll tell you this. This has changed a lot. I changed a lot. And I can honestly say that I have to say survivor, the survivor, because I'll tell you, Greg, and I say this for a reason. When the pandemic hit, I was dumbfounded. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't have a backup plan. I've been in this industry all of my life. I didn't have I couldn't cut hair or go back to doing something recreational. So I was just devastated on how the COVID pandemic just hit our industry very hard. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that. So me going through 2020 all the way up and just seeing how this whole industry was just obliterated and just trying to understand, Karen, what is your self-worth in this? How
Mm.
are you going to survive this? What are you going to do differently? How are you going to position yourself and your brand? And that led me to the project that I'm on. But anybody who was in as a career person like me, who's been in this industry for so long, and we went through that, what I call as a shakedown, the COVID-19 shakedown of the travel industry, you got to know that we survived that because you can't control a pandemic. You can't put a certification. You can't control how people will feel about coming back and meeting in person. So for me, I would say Survivor all the way because I didn't get that
It's a great song.
Yes.
All right, so thank you for helping us get a little bit more of that insight about you. But as we all know, you have had a quite a bit of travel and you've attended a variety of conferences and meetings and you've really gained a lot of insights about the industry. And I have a couple of questions that are related to the industry if you just bear with me a little bit more so that we get to know you. So from an industry perspective, what is a substantial trend that you have learned about the travel industry?
So I'll tell you what the aha moment for me is. You know, when you work on the supplier side of things, you see it through one lens. You could be doing it for 20, 30 years, but you see it from one lens. When I started traveling and I'm going to other conferences, other industry conferences, I'm looking at it from the technology end. I'm looking at it from the buyer's end. And it's so interesting to see the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. So, yeah, when you're talking about a group coming into a hotel and you're talking about the underbelly of of the hotel industry and what we do to prepare, but we don't know how that reservation system works and how they got here. Understanding the technology end of it, whether it is booking travel online or using apps or just the idea of AI now that's just kind of making that experience a little different for us. So for me, meeting and seeing, oh, this is the back end of a reservation system. This is how groups and attractions come together to present a day trip. Those are things that I never thought about on my side of the industry. So I found that being now that I'm more holistic and understand how this industry work, I'm conscious on how I work with different partners, how I treat my guests, how I position our project because everything is coming in from a different way. So I would definitely say the mechanics of what the travel industry is, an appreciation on its value to the customer service, and to the suppliers that's out here.
So I think the second question I'd have for you is really centered upon concerns that you see. What are some of the things that you see that are, causing a bit of caution or pause as it relates to the travel industry?
So I think what I going back to what I just said, everyone now has at their fingertips tools and apps and tips to plan their own vacation. But not everybody is a travel planner. And now with the swell and the return of a lot of travel back to the United States, some of my bigger concerns is expectations. You know, we see a big, beautiful picture online and we say we want to go and you plan ahead. And sometimes it may not be what you thought it was, or it may take a little hassle to get there. Also about delivery. You know, people are coming back to travel, volume is up, traffic is up. So I want to make sure that our destination partners and our attractions are ready for that because the customer's expectations has changed a lot. So we want to make sure that volume versus customer service and experience comes hand in hand because we want everybody to have an amazing experience. And whether they booked it online themselves or they went through a professional travel provider, at the end of the day, we want them to have a great experience. So I just want to sometimes I'm like, okay, all right, I saw an inquiry, 68 people on a walking tour coming to DC. And I'm like, whoo, okay. Are you ready? How do you handle that in an hour and a half with 68 people so they all walk away? So my thing is making sure that we're prepared for the resurgence of travel, the guest expectations and how we're going to deliver that in a meaningful way. So yeah, that makes a little pause, but I trust my partners. I trust our suppliers out here. They got
So, I find your response to be rather interesting as it relates to a connection of artificial intelligence. And we had a discussion about that in a most recent podcast. And one of
Mhm.
the questions that I presented as a follow up, and I'll present it to you as well. So, as it relates to artificial intelligence in our industry today, uh, does the customer need to catch up to us, or do we need to catch up to the customer as it relates to the use of artificial intelligence?
Well, what I've seen is AI is not going away. So I think it's a twofold question. We're going to have to adapt to the trend that this is going to be something that we can use, but we need to use it responsibly. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to do the key, you know, you got the hotel key on your phone. Like I can't do it. I can't even do the boarding pass or at the airport. I was like, just give me a paper ticket. But I think that it is as the internet came in, I think these things are here to stay. So what we have to do is just make sure that they're regulated. We need to make sure that that when I say the end user, the attraction or the hotel or the supplier and the customer knows what everybody's expecting and how to use this, be in this space responsibly, because you don't want to, and I'm just gonna hypothetically say you book your fantasy trip to Senegal or out to Africa and you get out there and it's like, oops, my reservation didn't go through, or you're kind of stuck and stranded. So we need to make sure that AI is not our only course of action. We need to make sure that we also use our own intellect, and we need to trust and verify. Trust and verify everything. And I think that we'll be okay. But it's coming in quickly. And we're gonna have to figure out how to navigate around it. So
Well,
unfortunately, I don't see that this is not going to go away. We just need to do it better.
as we've learned, as we've had more and more conversations about it, AI can truly be our friend. And as
Yeah.
it relates to our customers, I think our customers have become somewhat normalized with the use of it. And I think how we balance and come together on it in a
Yeah.
very effective way is really important in terms of travel. But I know for you, the Green Book experience is why we brought you here. So thank you so much for being a part of
Yes.
today's conversation. Now, I have a series of questions. I don't know if I'll pull through all of them because I know there are probably some more telling than others, but I did want to start with the very first question. And can you begin by really explaining exactly what the original Green Book was for those of our listeners who don't know?
So the original Green Book, 1936, there was a gentleman by the name of Victor Hugo Green. And during that time in American history, it was unsafe to travel across the United States. It just was. So he worked at he was a postal worker, and he decided to use his relationship at the postal office to get and produce a travel directory. And this guide was a list of places that you can go and stop and see and visit, and how you can safely navigate across the Deep South. What was interesting is that the book wasn't just for the Deep South; it was across the entire country. But whether you were driving from Alabama to California or from Florida to Nevada, it listed a lot of key areas, and it was life changing because you had to know where you were going. It's interesting because I didn't realize until recently that the Green Book actually was out prior to the AAA triptychs book. And a lot of us know that because we know we're old school. We know
I
books,
used to use it all the
we
time.
know the AAA, and we also know that big bat that would open
That's
up. It was like 2 yards by 9 yards.
it.
But the Green Book was out prior to the AAA trip book. And if you kind of look at it, they both served a certain purpose. But for us, it was all about safety and ease of safety. So the Green Book in itself is a historical moment in African American history. There were 6 versions that was printed. And what we're doing is that we're trying to kind of endorse and support the legacy of Victor Hugo Green as kind of the grandfather of African American travel. And it was just amazing what another trailblazer, uh, Nelson Mandela, another individual that went on a limb and said, you know what, I'm going to set and chart a path for us, and didn't have with no hands and no holds barred. So
So often, the work that you do of this type is more than just starting at 9 and ending at 5. It's really driven by passion. And here on Something to Say, we really like to deep into getting an idea of the passion that drive people to do the work that they do. So how much of the Green Book experience is really driven by your passion?
I was 100%. It's more than 100%. As I said earlier, I've been in travel and tourism all of my life. I will go ahead and correct my bio. My very first job was at Eastern Airlines. And Greg, I don't know if you remember
What
Eastern
is Eastern Airline, right?
Eastern Airlines. Yes. You remember Eastern Airlines and People's Express? My first job. That tells you that we're old school. My first job, can't believe you can't make this up. The first was at Eastern Airlines. And I would say this real short story. I applied, and in order to get hired, you had to memorize the test. You had to remember every city code in the world, everyone, major airports, public airports, private airports. And I memorized my flashcards, and I memorized every city code in the world, took the test, got hired in Islip, New Jersey. I went in there to reservations and I passed. I went through my training, and 2 weeks later, they went bankrupt. And I was like, so for me, travel and tourism, the travel industry has been everything that I've been doing all my life, between airlines to hotels, from hotels to the CVB, from the CVB now to the nonprofit side. Because to me, it's bigger than just personality. It's about your life. It's about seeing and enjoying something new. And for me, I've learned the hard way that you only get one life. And there's so much of this world to see. And if I can do that by living my dream through the work that I do, then hands down, I'm in it. So if it's 8 hours a day or 14 hours a day or 12 hours, whatever it is, I'm committed to, going the long haul. So I walk the walk and talk the talk. And, if I can make a small difference, make a change for somebody that's in this industry and help them get there, I'm in.
Wow.
So
So one last question for it. What's the big thing that we should be looking for?
next thing you should be looking for, that we are going live. So again, pray the technology guys work for us, but going live with a fantastic product offering that's going to be here for everyone. We also will have a business directory. So if you are a small or local operator, if you have a tour company, we can definitely list you for free in that directory. Again, the nonprofit of just doing the research and working with some of our colleges to help us do that. So keep me up at night is making sure the lights are on. Keep me, and then to be and just being a fantastic advocate for those like us and those like you and I that are in this industry that don't know much and that are interested in learning more. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that was really excited about creating this podcast was to keep our conversations brief, filled with a lot of great insight, and you've certainly provided that to us. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
But as our final question, and one
Okay.
that we feel very much is close to our heart with this particular podcast, because we are entitled Something to Say. So you have this platform. So what do you have to say?
So my something to say is very simple. I'm not gonna owe it. It's something to say. Life is short. So Greg, I know that's a little cliche to say, but I'll tell you this. A year and a half ago, I lost my youngest sister. And young, beautiful, gorgeous, well positioned, made a lot of money. And she went in for a procedure and didn't come out. And I remember a conversation I had with her. I was like, you work too much, you don't travel enough, and you don't do much with her and her two daughters. And after kind of working through all of that, I've learned that you got to live your life today. The world is out here for you to see, do, and experience. I understand that we have been conditioned that we want to go ahead and prepare for Social Security. We want to prepare for retirement. But your best memories are what are you creating today? And you got to get out of your comfort zone and just try something new. Travel the world, hang out with a girlfriend, eat an oyster, whatever it is. But understanding that nothing is guaranteed to you unless you do it today, and you do it now for yourself. So for me, I always say, yes, it's a little cliche. It's just, everybody say life is short. But until you understand that you only have yourself and you only have your life, to live your best memories today because it's not promised to you. And I'm understanding that more and more, not just in the work that I do and my purpose and my advocacy work on this project, but also how I'm spending myself with my family, friends, and my personal relationships, professional relationships, and as well as how I'm working inside of my own mental mindset of self care and just the willingness to be present. So I hope that someone takes that away from my something to say because it's real and you can't change it. You can't change it unless you want to.
Well, Karin, let me just say, I knew you were going to nail it. So thank you so much for sharing your passion, sharing your insights about the Green Book experience and the travel industry. And I am absolutely sure that the words that you have shared will be inspiring to someone who's in our audience today. So it's really been a pleasure having you on the show today. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are stay and follow us on social media. Reach out to us if you are an attraction or you have a great, cool experience. Send us an email. We'll definitely get you featured. And then let's connect. Do something fun. Enjoy your life. You only get one.
Great.
Do it.
Well, Karin, thank you once again. And to all of our listeners, I am so pleased that you have joined us for the second episode of Something to Say. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversation and voices of individuals from diverse backgrounds sharing their passions. So until next time, I'm Greg DeShields, your host, signing off. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Greg. You're the best.
Thank you for tuning in to Something to Say. We trust you found some valuable insights and takeaways that can help you find your passion. Don't miss out on future episodes. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your preferred platform. We value your feedback and suggestions, so let us know how we can serve you better. Keep the conversation going and stay inspired until we meet again. Take care and happy listening.